What's up, YouTube? Tim Moose here. Here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, and 30 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary. Oh man, I can't believe these are 10. We got the Dennis Villeneuve film Prisoners. Now, Prisoners, of course, had a really great cast that included the likes of Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Melissa Leo, Paul Dano, Terrence Howard, Viola Davis, and it focuses on the abduction of these two young girls in Pennsylvania and the search for like the suspected abductor by the police. And this is of course directed by Dennis Villeneuve, who of course would go on to direct the first Dune movie. He has a sequel coming out. No matter how good Dune Part 2 is, I'm telling you right now, the best Dennis Villeneuve movie, in my opinion, is Prisoners. Prisoners is terrific. Like, this movie is so heart pounding. The script is great. This movie is the performances by Jake Gyllenhaal, who how did he not get an Oscar nomination for this, is beyond me. This movie was literally shut out from the Oscars. Like, no nomination for Hugh Jackman, no love for Jake Gyllenhaal, no love for Paul Dano. Like, seriously, that was really a shame. But it's still a terrific film. I mean, definitely takes like the abduction route and turn it to like different level here. I mean, Dennis Villeneuve just crush out of the park with us. Like, if you never watched Prisoners, do yourself a favor, go check out Prisoners. This movie is awesome. I mean, to be honest, once Dune Part 2 comes out, I would love to see Dennis Villeneuve go back to do another film like Prisoners. But yeah, I feel like he's more trying to get him on the blockbuster route. But cool, I guess. All right, also turning 10, we got Battle of the Year. Now, Battle of the Year, of course, stars the likes of Josh Holloway, Chris Brown, Lazo Zonzo, Katie Wells from Legends of Tomorrow fame, and you also got Josh Peck. Now, if you guys don't know much about the story here, Dante Graham enlists Jason Blake to coach the U.S. B boy team to compete in the Battle of the Year. So, of course, this is pretty much like a dance competition based film. And it's actually not a bad one. I mean, of course, you do got Chris Brown who, but let's be real. Chris Brown is not that great of an actor or a person in general. I mean, his music isn't so bad, but yeah, Chris Brown is just like, I mean, after the stuff he did to Rihanna, yeah, Chris Brown had not always had the best career there, but you do got Josh Peck in there, so that's always a good one. But I did got a little bit of like a Stump the Yard or You Got Served vibe here. Definitely had a bit of those vibes, so not a bad little fleck. Also, turning 10, we got Enough Said, which is directed by Nicole Halfenser, who recently directed the Julie Louis-Dreyfus film, You Hurt My Feelings. This movie also starred Julie Louis-Dreyfus along with the late great James Gandolfini. This was actually one of James Gandolfini's last movies before he passed away. This actually came out about 3 months after Gandolfini's passing. And I mean, it was a little weird seeing James Gandolfini do a romantic comedy. I mean, whenever you think of James Gandolfini, obviously you always go to Tony Soprano, but see, and he's done other stuff too, like True Romance. Uh, he's done some like cool bad guy stuff, but seeing him do like a romantic comedy lead opposite Julie Louis Dreyfus was something I never knew I needed. But he was actually pretty charming in this. The movie also has Bono's daughter, who, by the way, her new film Florence Sun looks pretty good too. You also had some other interesting cast members, like you had Ben Falcone, Tony Collette, Catherine Keener. And if you guys don't know much about the story here, you got Julie Louis Dreyfus, who plays Ava, who's this divorced Masu who begins a relationship with Albert, played by Gandolfini, only to discover that he is a former husband of her client and friend, played by Keener. And this is a really cute, decent film. The chemistry between Dreyfus and Gandolfini is really good. So if you guys never seen it, give it a go. I mean, a really decent performance. And man, James Gandolfini gone way too soon. I've always loved him as Tony Soprano. He's always been great in other stuff. Like, yeah, that was a really tragic when he passed away. That 10 years. But he really showed that, like, It was really cool seeing James Gandolfini shows, hey, I'm not that Tony Soprano guy no more. I could have some fun and do like show my charming side, and here he really nailed it. All right, films turning 20 this week. We got Underworld, of course, directed by Len Wiseman, starring the likes of Kate Beckinsale, Micah Shane, Bill Nye, and it centers around the secret history of vampires and lichens. Um, and it is, of course, first chronologically the second installment in the Underworld franchise, and the main plot revolves around something played by Kate Beckinsale, who's this vampire death dealer hunting lichens, and she finds herself attracted to a human named Micah Corvin, played by Scott Spearman. And this will go on to spawn a couple of other sequels. Some okay, some not so good. Um, the last one was pretty terrible, by the way. And Kate Beckinsale, like, she's actually really good as Rose Lane. I really always think she, nails it every inch here. Come on, who does not love seeing Kate Beckinsale in, in a black suit here? But yeah, not a bad film. All right, also turning 20, we got the Woody Allen film Anything Else, which stars Jason Biggs, Woody Allen, Christina Ricci, Stockard Channing, Danny DeVito, Jimmy Fallon, and here is about Jerry Falk, who's a aspiring writer in New York, falls in love at first sight when a free-spirited young woman named Amanda. Jerry has heard the phrase that life is like anything else, but he soon finds that life with an unpredictable Amanda isn't like anything else at all. And this is actually, I admit, this is actually one of Woody Allen's most underappreciated films. Like, honestly, whenever you think of Woody Allen, yeah, you think of his, his personal life. Okay, take his personal life aside. Whenever you think of Woody Allen, his filmography, by the way, you always think of like, obviously the classics like Annie Hall, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. This is one I barely hear many people talk about. It is really a decent one. Like Jason Biggs and Christina Ricci is both really good. Woody Allen's pretty decent in this. Nice to see Jimmy Fallon pop up in this. Really a decent film that does not get talked about much. All right, also turning 20, we got Secondhand Lions, which stars a very young Haley Joel Osment, Robert Duvall, Micah Caine, Keira Sedgwick, and it tells the story of a young boy played by Haley Joel Osment, who essentially lived with his eccentric gray uncles, played by Duvall and Caine, on a farm in Texas. And this is a really terrific film. Of course, Micah Caine's great. Haley Joel Osment, I mean, at the time Haley Joel Osment at the time was really in his own and trying pretty much be a little bit of an A-list actor there. Of course, he was coming off of his iconic classic, The Sixth Sense, obviously AI. He was, of course, one of the best young actors back in the days, and it's always cool seeing him pop up nowadays as an adult. But I thought he was really good in Secondhand Lions. Of course, Robert Duvall, Michael Caine was both great in this. Really good film if you guys ever seen it. All right. Also turning 20, we got the thriller Code Creek Manor, which is directed by Leaving Las Vegas director Mike Figgis, starring Dennis Quaid, Sharon Stone, Stephen Dorff, Juliette Lewis, Christopher Plummer, and a very young Kristen Stewart. And the film tells the story of a family terrorized by the farmer owner and rural estate they brought in foreclosure. And this is a really cool cat and mouse based film. Of course, Kristen Stewart is pretty good. That's like this was one of her breakout roles here. Dennis Quaid was pretty interesting. It's very intense. So, yeah, give this one a go if you guys haven't seen that. Oh, also turning 20. Lots of 20-year-olds this week, but also turning 20 is a terrible Cuba Gooding Jr. movie, Defying Temptation. of course, directed by Jonathan Lynn. And let me just say, Cuba Gooding Jr. in 2003, he did not have that great of a year in 2003. I mean, yes, he did do radio, which I enjoyed, but most people didn't. He also did obviously Boat Trip that same year. He also did, I believe, he did Snow Dogs as well. Lots of those movies did not do him wonders with critics, and this was one of them. Now, if you guys don't know much about this film also stars Beyonce, who was coming off of her breakthrough role in Austin Powers Spy and Go Member, which, by the way, I think Beyonce was awesome in that. I've always adored her. Like, whenever I think of Beyonce, obviously, whenever you think of Beyonce, you always think of her music and all. But me, I always will go to Go Member. I've always loved her in Go Member. And this was, of course, directed by Jonathan Lynn, who's directed some other dreamy stuff. Like, he, of course, did, the classics Clue. He directed My Cousin Vinny, Trial and Error, the whole 9 yards. So this movie should have been knocked out because it's from the same director of My Cousin Vinny. This movie is horrible. It's completely bad. I mean, of course, you also had Chloe, Halle Bailey and Chloe Bailey. This was actually when they started acting out, when they were very young and all. And if you guys don't know much about the story here, the plot revolves around Darren Hill, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., who travels to his hometown in Monte Carlo, and he attempts to revive the church choir in order to enter the gospel competition with the help of a beautiful lounge singer and childhood friend Lily, played by Beyonce, with whom he falls in love with here. And it had a really interesting cast. Like, you actually had Chloe Bailey playing a very young Beyonce. You also had Wendell Pierce. You had Steve Harvey popping up with this, Face Out Love. You had cameos by the likes of Reverend Sherry Caesar, Mary. So you had Donnie McClurkin had a little part in this, but the movie is terrible. The humor doesn't go well. The performances is great. I mean, I like Beyonce, but she did much better in stuff like Obsessed or even Dreamgirls or even The Lion King. But yeah, this is definitely not her best effort. I mean, it is a shame because I do like Beyonce. Like, her music, some of her acting could be good too, but here definitely was not her best effort. So yeah. All right. Uh, last lastly, turning 20, we got Baba Ho Tap, which, if you guys don't know much about the story here, it is directed by Don Casciali, who you might know, who directed Phantasm, and it stars Bruce Campbell as Elvis Presley. Bruce Campbell as Elvis is always something you ever need. And here you have Bruce Campbell, who plays Elvis, who's now a resident in a nursing home. The film also stars Ozzie Davis as Jack, a black man who claims to be JFK, explaining that he was patched up after the assassination, dyed black, and abandoned. Let me take this movie's awesome. Baba Ho Tap is so fun. It's really entertaining. The horror aspect is great. Uh, the chemistry between, like, Bruce. I mean, it might be offend a lot of people today, but the chemistry between, like, Bruce Campbell's Elvis and Ozzie Davis's JFK is interesting. I mean, this movie, of course, comes to a world like where if Elvis and JFK never died and all, and they end up finding like evil as necessary. I mean, this is, of course, like, the horror aspect is great. You also had some other cast members, like you had Ella Joyce popping up in this, Dan Roebuck. I mean, this movie is really fun and entertaining. So if you've never seen Bubba Ho Tap, do yourself a favor, go watch it. I mean, of course, from the same guy who gave us the Phantasm movies. One more gags for there. All right. Now, films turning 30 this week. We got The Age of Innocence, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Michelle Pfeiffer, Winona Ryder, and it recounts the courtship and marriage of Newland Archer, played by Day-Lewis, a wealthy New York society attorney, to May Welland, played by Ryder. Archer then encounters and legally represents countless Osanga, played by Pfeiffer, prior to unexpected romantic attainments. And this is actually a really decent one. I mean, of course, Martin Scorsese, like, it's not my favorite Scorsese film or anything, but he did do a decent job. Winona Ryder was great in this. Michelle Pfeiffer is terrific. Daniel Day-Lewis was before one of the greatest actors who ever lived. So, yeah, if you guys haven't seen this one, definitely give it a go. All right. Also turning 30, we got the comedy Airborne. Here's what Airborne is about. When his parents go to Australia for 6 months to work on a zoology project, young Mitchell, played by Shane McDermott, is sent to live with his aunt Irene, played by famed Ferris Bueller actress Eddie McClurg, and Uncle Louie, played by Patrick Thomas O'Brien, in Cincinnati. Initially dismayed by the cold climate, Mitchell's unhappiness increases when he's taunted by high school's popular kids. And as he strikes up a relationship with Nikki, played by Brittany Powell, Mitchell begins to win over bullies by using the role-blazing skills in street hockey games. So this is, of course, a hockey-based film. I believe this was actually Jack Black's first movie, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. It's not a great film, but it is a really, fun 90s gem. Of course, like, the 90s has some really decent team-based films. And this is not, like, in the same level as, let's say, American Pie or Election, nothing like that. But it has some fun laughs to it, so give it a go if you guys haven't seen that one. All right. Also turning 30, we got the Bruce Willis film Striking Distance, starring Bruce Willis, Sarah Jessica Parker, Tom Sizemore, Dennis Farina, Andre Braugher. And here you have Bruce Willis, who plays Sergeant Tom Hardy, not to be confused with that Tom Hardy, who denounces his partner, Jimmy Tatalo, played by Robert Pastrelli, for brutally integrating a suspect after Jimmy, of course, falls to his death from a bridge. Tom is transferred from homicide to the river rescue team. 2 years later, the bodies of murdered young women begins turning up in the water, all of whom were previously romantically linked to Tom. With the help of his new partner, Joe Christman, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, Tom sets out to find the killer. And this is actually a pretty fun 90s gem. Like, Bruce Willis, of course, has done some really decent stuff in the 80s and 90s, coming off of Die Hard. And this is actually pretty fun. Like, his chemistry with Sarah Jessica Parker was very interesting. Tom Sizemore was pretty fun in this. So, not a bad flick if you guys haven't seen it. And last but not least, turning 30, we got the Western film Into the West, starring Gabe O'Brien, Brendan Gleeson, Ellen Barkin, and takes place in Dublin, where youngsters Ozzy, played by Saran Fitzgerald, and Tito, played by Rodari Conroy, live with their widowed father, played by Gabe O'Brien from Hereditary fame, who drowns his grief in drink. Their grim existence is uplifted by the arrival of their grandfather, played by David Kelly, who you might know as Grandpa Joe from Tim Burton's Charlie Chocolate Factory, who has brought with him a magical horse from Legends, which is a Tyrannog. And but when crooked cops discovers the prize animal, they commandeer it, intending to sell it as a racing horse. and the boys resolve to rescue the mythical creature. And of course, the '90s has some really decent like animal-based stuff where they talk about Free Willy, Babe. This was actually not bad. I mean, it's not nowhere near as good as those films are, but it's really cute, charming. The performances is really decent. The horse is really cool here, so not a bad flick if you guys haven't seen that one. But that's pretty much it there. Let me let you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is going to go to Prisoners. The 20-year one, you know what? I'm going to say Bubba Ho Tap. That's the one that stands out to me the most in the 20-year one. I mean, sorry Underworld, sorry Woody Allen, Finding Temptation, but you can't go wrong with Bruce Campbell as Elvis. Come on. And the 30-year one, I'm gonna probably say the Age of Innocence. Drop down as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Timmy signing out.